Hey, folks, this podcast is brought to you by Parlay Play Fantasy Sports. Use my referral code RotoBrady. Get that sweet, sweet deposit bonus. They got paid contests coming to states near you. They're giving out boosts. They're giving out bonuses. They're slashing lines all day long. Hop in those player prop DFS contests. It's a real fun platform over there. And this podcast is now sponsored by King Arthur Capital Group. Fund Your Fight Camp, showing fighters how to leverage credit and capital so they can treat their career like a business. And like I said, really happy to be partnering with King Arthur Capital Group and the founder, David King Arthur McElroy. Go check out that interlude episode. If you haven't heard it, you can follow them on Instagram at King Arthur Capital Group and at MC Elroy. That's EMSEE.ELROY. Check out King Arthur Capital Group if you're in the combat sports world, with finances, with making livings for fighters being a constant topic of conversation. If you're a fighter looking to make preparing for your next fight camp easier, looking to get your personal finances in sync. Hit up David McElroy and King Arthur Capital Group. I'm excited to spread that information to as many people as possible over the lifespan of this podcast. And what is up, everybody? This is Brady Grove bringing you another interlude episode of the Tap That MMA podcast. It is Saturday, March 28th. We actually have UFC Seattle kicking off here in just a few hours. Check out the recent interlude episodes. Follow me on Twitter at RotoBrady, on Instagram at RotoBrady MMA. Follow the podcast at Tap That MMA Podcast on YouTube and Spotify, now available on Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. And with me today,
ladies and gentlemen, referee Jeff Rexroad has called a stop to this contest at 1 minute, 11 seconds of round number 2. Declaring the winner by submission due to a rear naked choke, Jared NiteTrain Gooden.
you heard it from Bruce Buffer there, folks. You will recognize this guy from 7 fights in the UFC. He is also the former NFC Welterweight Champion and the former NFC Middleweight Champion. Give it up for Jared NiteTrain Gooden. Jared, thank you so much for being here today, man. How's it going?
Man, today's a blessing, brother. I want to just say that was an awesome intro, man. Nobody's ever done that. Had Bruce Buffer, you know what I mean? That is so cool, man. Thank you for that, man. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear. Yeah, I try to put a lot of energy into the intros, and that is something that I do get a comment on a lot. So no, I'm glad that it came off well. And so Jared, just like about what you're up to right now. So the last fight on your resume was back at Shogun Fights 30. That was actually your light heavyweight debut against Muhammad Ali. Obviously, it didn't go the way that he wanted it to. And so then, like, the status seems to be that you're retired. So one, is that like still the plan moving forward? Is that you're retired from like competitive professional fighting? And what did you think, aside from the result of the fight, what did you think about competing at 205 pounds?
Thank you for the question, brother. To answer your question, no, I'm not retired. I'm back. Actually have an upcoming fight coming up
Yes.
May 23rd. Yeah, I just signed with PFL, man. I got a huge fight coming up May 23rd out there in Brussels, Belgium, and I cannot wait for this fight. Man, to answer your question about fighting at light heavyweight, man, I found out it's not for me. Man, like I spar with heavyweights even today. I was just sparring my boy Warren Thompson, another heavyweight, but yeah, 205 is not the weight class for me, brother. I'm now a middleweight. I should have been a middleweight a long time ago, but I'm 100% an 85er now, man. I cannot wait for this.
I'm glad to hear that you're going to be back. How recent was that? Because I feel like this fight, like this upcoming fight, was not there like kind of recently when I'm looking into Tapology. How recent was the signing with PFL?
This was about like 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe 4.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's very recent, I got a new manager, JD, man. He's a blessing. He's amazing. And like what I love about my new manager is he did exactly what I asked of him. You know what I mean? I told a lot of management teams, I told them I would only sign with you if you can get me a fight. You know what I mean? I need you to prove to me you can get me a fight, man. I've had a lot of people, a lot of management teams try. JD is the only one who actually saw it through. So that's why after I signed the contract, I immediately signed with them. You know what I mean? So again, he did exactly what I asked, and it came through bigger than I ever expected, man. So I'm so excited to be with them.
And that PFL card in Brussels, there's going to be a lot of recognizable names on that card. It's got to feel good, like, where you were in that period for a year where you're like, looking for a fight and everything. You came off the light heavyweight debut, and not only do you have a fight, you get to go to Brussels, which seems cool, and it's on a PFL card featuring a lot of quality names. And, with the PFL, that is something that people will see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what's funny is this will be my first time leaving the country of the United States. You know what I mean? I got my passport last year in 2025. Um man, like it's just again, so I'm so excited for this fight in Brussels. What's funny is I was told the wrong information when I wish I would have fought sooner out of the country. But when I was younger, somebody told me that, oh, when you fight out the country, they tax your money more. And so I was like, I want all my money. So why would I leave the country? And again, I found out later on that was untrue. So, man, I'm just glad to be on this, like I said, this big PFL card. It has a lot of names. I believe Vincent Henderson's on this fight card. Joe Schilling, if I'm saying his name right, is on this card. Again, a lot of people I know are on this card. I cannot wait to go out here and show out with all these big names and, man, just to prove that I belong here 185 and I belong in the PFL.
A couple of, Brussels or a couple of Belgium's top prospects are going to be on that card too, so there's something for everybody, like Benson Henderson, that unlocks like a pretty deep nostalgia for me, like with Ben Henderson, like, I mean, the impact that he had, like in the WEC, especially the amazing fight he was a part of in the very last WEC fight, the amazing lightweight title fights he was a part of in the UFC, and then he really was in a couple of the greatest fights I've ever seen that took place in Bellator with like Michael Chandler and everything. So, Bennett, you always
Yes.
need people like that. Not everybody has to be a UFC lifer, and some of my favorite fighters of all time are guys that fought in Strikeforce, Sengoku, back and forth to a bunch of like fought for promotions that lasted one event, the Elite XC kind of guys. You need those people to make sure that the sport is healthy overall, not just inside the UFC. So no, I love Ben Henderson, and that makes it like definitely a little bit more must see TV for people who normally might teeter about watching PFL, whenever it's scheduled.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Again, like with all these names on this card, it makes me work out and train even harder because again, I know again Vincent Henderson is a world class showcase. You know what I mean? The stuff he does, Joe Schilling again is just amazing. And so like again, it's making me up my game to hang with these guys and to prove again that I belong in this card. So I cannot wait for this.
And both you and Benson Henderson are paired up with prospects from Belgium who are undefeated 8-0. Is it like it's got to be like a little extra motivation or a little bit more exciting knowing that like they're uh, they're planning on the Belgian people and the Belgian MMA and PFL to pump up the prospects, like this is kind of like partly hoping to be like a showcase for like the Belgian prospects that are on their way up. So that's got to add some excitement to you heading into that matchup.
100%. What's like the biggest thing for me, the like something else that gets me hype is I'm going in, like I said, I'm going in as the villain. You know what I mean? I'm fighting this guy in his hometown and everything, so everybody's gonna boo me. They're all gonna cheer for him. I understand that, and I'm looking forward to that. Because what's funny is like I love boos. You know what I mean? Because like there's like I'm trying to see the best way to explain it. Love me or hate me, you're going to watch. You know what I mean? So again, like going in, I know the Brussels people are going to hate me, and I hope I can leave with some fans. You know what I mean? After I win and I beat their home guy. You know what I mean? But again, I just can't wait for this fight. I'm excited. I can't wait to be the villain, and I'm just excited, man. It's going to be so awesome. I'm going to showcase a whole lot of a new NiteTrain out here in Brussels.
It's interesting that you say that too, because you are actually one of the rare personalities in this sport who, if need be, you can kind of seamlessly transition between like needing to be like the heel in a given matchup, or you can be the more beloved character, because like, if it's in a spot where the people are going to be booing you already, parts of your personality that are really fun and are really personable are like going to enrage them more. And if people go into rooting for you, like that's exactly what they're looking to see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like, man, well, I'm glad you said that. Like, you called me a heel. Like, I'm a huge WWE. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I watch WWE and AEW. You know what I mean? What is it? I can't think of the one in Japan right now, but I'm a huge wrestling fan. So, like the good guys they call babyface, the bad guys they call heel. And yeah, man, I love I love that I can work both. You know what I mean? Again, I can be the good guy, I can be the bad guy. Yeah, my personality fits perfectly for that, and I'm just excited for this. Because what's funny is I've always wanted to get into wrestling. You know what I mean? Out here in Atlanta, Georgia, Cody Rhodes, one of the world champions right now in WWE, has a gym out here. I'm definitely going to sign up when so. That's always my goal. When I'm done fighting, is to I'm going to transition into wrestling as best I can. So again, it's just warmed my heart when I heard you call me a heel when I need to be, man. And like I said, I love that.
Well, I'm not familiar with any of them. Like, I'm really not very familiar with wrestling at all. I think that's one thing that, like, because I just like wasn't made or like introduced to it as a young kid, and like it passed me by over many years, and like now it's just kind of gone. Like now I couldn't get into it. It's not there. But I really appreciate the people that are able to do multiple things and also participate in pro wrestling. Those are unique characters. There's only been, a select handful of those through the history of MMA. There's a reason that like you don't ever see boring fighters like, yeah, I might like try out WWE. It's like that won't work. Like we know exactly who the people are that would thrive in those situations. And really, like I do like back when they would do like Japanese MMA New Year's Eve events, and Ryzen still doesn't, but when they would make Japanese pro wrestling a part of those events, and Josh Barnett would be in there, and they'd be like slapping the absolute shit out of each other on that. Like, I can get down with that, and I could see you being a very polarizing character in the world of Japanese wrestling.
I appreciate that, man. Again, I can't wait to try it out. You know what I mean? Because what's funny is the reason I say I can't wait to do it until when I'm retired from fighting is because there's a lot of great wrestlers. They can do this well into their 50s and 60s. You know what I mean? But fighting, you have a very small window. You know what I mean? And I'm blessed to be able to take a year off and to come back. You know what I mean? And to get again right into the high level of this. You know what I mean? Back in the PFL and everything. So I can't wait to show everything that I've been working on and like my new team that I've been working with. And I'm just excited. So I appreciate you saying that about me, man. I can't wait to get into wrestling. But right now, like I said, I'm 100% fully into MMA. I cannot wait to come out there and just show what I can do, bro. This is gonna be an amazing card.
And like the interesting thing about the timeline of your career, so from what I understand about your roots in MMA is that like you had not been training very long before your first amateur fight. And
Yes.
your first amateur fight was now like close to 14 years ago. And so now, fast forward to 2026, your last fight was March of 2025. So now, like almost exactly a year ago. The last fight in the UFC was, a handful of months before that in October of 2024. You had like a high level of activity for years. That's why your record is as voluminous as it is. And people might think of like, oh, like he said he was, and now he's like with PFL. Like, dude, you're 32. This is just like this is just the next like chapter in the book. This isn't like trying to write a whole new story. You're 32 years old, and you've always been in good shape, and so. I think that like that probably is causing a lot of people to sleep on you heading into this PFL fight.
Oh, if they're sleeping on me, even better for me. It's gonna be easier to put them to sleep. You know what I mean? And it's all good. I understand that. Like, what's funny is, like you said, man, I'm just 32, but I'm now an OG in this game. You know what I mean? Like I said, I think my first amateur fight was in 2012. You know what I mean? I think I went pro in 2015, and so like I'm 11 years in as a professional in the game. You know what I mean? So it's crazy, man. Yeah, I'm an old head now, man. I had some guys at the gym say that to me, like, "Oh, you're an old head." I'm like, "Oh, it hurts my heart to hear that," because again, I started training when I was 17 years old. But yeah, man, I'm excited to go out here and show a new version of myself. Man, because like that's something so dear to me. It's like you can't go into every fight being the same person, or it can't be the same fighter. Like me and my coach were talking about that today. It's either you evolve or you die. You know what I mean? Like the dinosaur in a way. You know what I mean? And so that's what I can't wait to go out here and show that I've been evolving, even though I've been out of the spotlight for like I said a year. I can't wait to show y'all that I've evolved and I've been working on myself, working on my art, and I can't wait to go out there and kill it, man. It's gonna be awesome.
So to go backward in time, with when you started training and then when you actually started competing, what was your athletic background before you started training in mixed martial arts? Because folks, Jared Gooden is from out of Georgia, fighting out of Gwinnett, Georgia. Is the most up to date information. And the thing about the state of Georgia, for people who might not follow at least like college football and college basketball, is I'm pretty convinced that at any given year, at least 10% of all athletes come out of Norcross, Georgia. Georgia is a very like a hotbed of athletic talent across, at least three different sports. So like, what was your athletic background before you started training?
I appreciate you asking. I remember the first sport I ever played was baseball. I grew up playing baseball. I played football for like 5 years, from third grade to eighth grade. Played a little bit of basketball, but so I've always been athletic. I've always been into sports. What's crazy is people always ask me, like, "Oh, did you wrestle in high school?" I'm like, "No, my mom wouldn't allow me to." What's funny is my mom wouldn't allow me to wrestle in high school because she thought it was too gay. You know what I mean? She's like, "Oh, dude on a dude," you know what I mean? Just grappling. She's like, "That's weird." And so it was even funnier when like I started fighting MMA and I had she came one of my jujitsu tournaments, and she sees I'm pretty much doing that. But like, the reason she likes jujitsu more than wrestling is because like in jujitsu you can choke them, you can like tap them out with an armbar or something like that, joint manipulation. She's like, wrestling, you just dude on dude rolling around. That's weird. But she's finally come around to the concept and everything like that of mixed martial arts, or martial arts as it is. But yeah, man, I've been very athletic my whole life. Again, I'm always going to be doing something. I know that I don't think I could ever like actually sit still. Even the year I wasn't fighting, I was still training people. I was still in the gym working on myself, working with people. So yeah, man, like it's in my blood to be athletic. I appreciate you, man. I can't wait to man, to see where this goes.
That is the funniest reason that someone was not allowed to do a sport as a kid that I've ever heard. I think
Yeah.
I think we're all pretty used to like hearing like the jokes about jujitsu and wrestling, but most of that comes from like people within combat sports or people who know absolutely nothing about it. So to hear like
Mm.
that was the reason is like that, but that's the funny thing about combat sports is like people again forget because it's existed my whole lifetime and a lot of fans' whole lifetimes, but you forget that like this is a professional sport that is like 30 years old on a high level basis. That's like generously one third, one fourth the lifetime of the other major sporting companies in the United States. And there's still like I forget because I talk to so many people that are fans of MMA or at least familiar with it, that there's still like a ton of people out there that are like, oh, that's too dangerous. You like that. I can't believe they can do that. It's like, oh, why bother? Like, there's no, it's not like that. I don't know how, like, you can say whatever objective truths to a lot of people. Like, look, man, no one's ever died in a regulated MMA fight. It's safer for all these reasons. These sports are more dangerous for these reasons. And they're like, I just don't like it. I just don't think it's all right. Jesus Christ. All right. Give it another 50 years and we'll see where everybody's heads are at on that.
No, 100%. What's funny is like I said, I was talking to my coach Warren Thompson. He played football professionally for a little bit before he came back to training MMA and everything. And like I was even telling him, and that's the reason I got out of football, is because football is way more dangerous than MMA, which is funny. It's like you would think, oh, two men sitting in there duking it out would be not as would be more. You would think it would be more dangerous than football, but like I was thinking about wide receivers, when they have to catch a ball and like they would turn and then there's a defender cracking you across the face. I mean, you see many wide receivers or tight ends be put to sleep because again, you get tackled by someone you didn't see coming. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, like yeah, football is way worse than fighting, man. But like yeah, there's so many things out there. But what's funny is there's a I can't think of his name, Jordan Peterson, Peterson, if I'm saying his name correctly, a philosopher.
Yeah.
He likes it, like he always says, you should be dangerous. You know what I mean? A man should be dangerous, and it's because it's not so he can do harm to people, it's so he can know who he is. You know what I mean? So he can protect the ones he loves, and so so he's not dangerous in the world. And so that's what another reason why I stay into combat sports and I love fighting because again, you have to know how dangerous you can be. You know what I mean? So you can know you can protect your loved ones, and so you're not that way out there. Because again, like talking to my friends in the gym, if I didn't have training, if I didn't have fighting, I would. I don't know where I'd be. You know what I mean? Like, and I know I'd probably be locked up or something right now because again, this is a great outlet for me. Growing up as a kid, I had anger issues. I had a lot of things against me when I was a kid, and so like again, being able to fight and let this out that way in a safe, healthy way and get paid for it, man. Yeah, this is so awesome.
Yeah, like oh, what did you just say before anger and outlet? It was oh damn it. What did you say right before anger and outlet? I had it
Oh, but you got to be dangerous.
yeah, okay, yeah. That's the thing about combat sports too, is like it's certainly the most practical of all the, sports that you can take part in. It's the only one you could ever conceivably use in an emergency, unless like you need to get like emergency supplies to somebody 40 yards away and it's like, shaped in a kind of triangle ball kind of thing. Like, yeah, or you need to kick it. I could see that maybe coming up, but now, and for kids especially, like go into any mixed martial arts gym in the United States, and the class that is always going to be the busiest is the kids' jujitsu class.
Percent.
All those kids have a blast. It's run very safely, and it's such a confidence thing for kids as they get older to know practical means of self-defense. Outside of the McDojo kind of stuff that is, prevalent in karate and whatnot. It's yeah, a big thing for a lot of kids to be able to go places as you get into middle school and high school and you become more independent and know that you're not completely vulnerable to get the shit beat out of you by like, somebody wrong you come across, So that is a big, I think any kid finding out that like, they're good at something that they work hard at is a good confidence booster. But there is something to be said for like not being as afraid of the world when you are at least a little bit familiar with self-defense techniques.
No, again, I 100% agree. Because I am a coach and I have coached kids jujitsu classes. You know, what I mean, I've coached kids like boxing and like Muay Thai classes. You're right; it gives them a confidence boost. And how to explain this? I love that. Again, that's something I believe in the world, especially in America right now. People need to learn. It's like it's not always going to be easy. You know what I mean? Like kids have to learn that it's when they're doing jujitsu, wrestling, whatever. Like you're not always going to win. It's not always going to go your way. It's going to be tough. You know what I mean? But you have to learn how to fight through it. And if it doesn't go your way, again, fight harder so you can win next time. You know what I mean? So again, I 100% agree with you. Yeah, kids. I believe even more kids need to be in it. I have a daughter now. I can't wait to put her in jujitsu when she's old enough for it. Because again, like I always say, I know daddy can't always be there. You know what I mean? So I would love to know in my heart that she can take care of herself even when daddy's not there, So yes, kids need to be in some kind of martial arts so they can protect themselves, boost their confidence out here in the world.
And I mean, forget just like, being a kid in that thing, like as an adult in any class in an MMA gym, it's like, when you're like, drilling a submission in, a nogi class, and it's like you're not getting the pressure where it needs to. And it's like, son of a bitch, what am I doing wrong here? Like, and you're sparring, and your coach is saying, Straight right to the body, left hook up top. Yeah, straight right to the body, left hook. It's like I'm trying and I'm getting blasted on my way inside. Dude, like I got to figure this out. Like those are like unique challenges that aren't necessarily present with a lot of other people's hobbies or means of exercise. People have gone crazy with exercise. It's all like there's everything across the board in the United States. There's the most insane levels of exercise that goes way beyond practicality. And then, there's things that like people swear like are healthy things. And like, there's a lot of unhealthy people in the country. So like we have a very wide spectrum of like, means of exercise in the United States. But, for my take, I've never enjoyed another form of exercise like a Nogi Jiu-Jitsu class or like a Muay Thai class. I don't think anything touches it.
No, again, I agree with you 100%. Like I said, it makes you, you're fighting another human being, but again, like the way I see it, sometimes I'm fighting myself as well. You know what I mean? Because again, like you're saying, like trying to do like that across to the body, come up top to the head. Not only is the coach telling you that, but the other person can hear it too. You know what I mean? So they know what's coming. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, I hear what my coach is saying. I got to find the right time to do that. But yeah, man. Like, so there's nothing like combat sports. There's nothing like, again, pushing yourself to be better. You know what I mean? Again, I think more people in the United States need that. More people in the world need that, but especially in the United States, man. Like, it's crazy to see how soft America's becoming. You know what I mean? Like we call ourselves the greatest country in the world, and it's like nowadays y'all are so soft. People get offended. Oh my, whatever. You know what I mean? I don't want to say anything that trying to get canceled out here or whatever. But it's like, again, people are just way too soft, man.
And I don't know what to do about that. This is kind of what happens when like it's 2026. You have 8 billion people in the world and 300, 400 million in a country. And it's like, I don't know what any solutions are to this. Unfortunately, they invented the iPhone and the iPad without consulting me and everything. There's people that, I mean, like, you think you kind of like as you get older, like I'm 29, you're 32. As you get to, you think you know what most people are like. And then you have kids and you meet like their parents or like you just hear about what other people like, oh, like, well, when we're doing this, like, oh my God, like there are aliens like in this country that look just like me. And yet I don't think that they came from Earth. Certainly not like the Earth that I'm familiar with.
No, 100%. Yeah, like man, some people are. Yeah, like I don't know how to explain it, man. Like, I had a friend say that it seems like each generation is getting softer and softer. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. I like, man, how to explain this? I remember seeing a video for like back in the day. Like, I think it was like the 50s or 60s. Like, so, like for one, like I said, the iPhone and cell phones, internet. Yeah, man. Mike Tyson said it best. Like the internet, Facebook, and all that stuff, people think they can say whatever they want online and they don't get punched in the face for it. You know what I mean? That's something that's really weird to me. You know what I mean? Like you can think you can say, "Oh, you suck" or whatever to somebody. You know what I mean? And then again, you don't get punched in the face for it. That's weird to me. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, it's just again, too many people are getting soft, man. I think more people need again martial arts so they can understand what people go through. Again, that's not always going to be easy. And yeah, man, like I said, as we get older, we think we know what the world needs or whatever, but man, again, again, all I know is we need more men. We need more people again to get uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Because again, like I think that's what it is, man. People are just too comfortable. Like, oh, they can't say that. They can't hurt my feelings. And it's like nobody cares about your feelings. You know what I mean? It's not my job to care about somebody else's feelings. You know what I mean? Like, don't be wrong. I don't want to hurt your feelings. You know what I mean? But if I offend you, especially if I don't know you, it shouldn't be like, oh, I can't say this or that. You know what I mean? Like, again, it's just weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird time where like things that you say on it could like, people could be bothered and like have their feelings hurt by it like on a hair trigger. But at the same time, if you like go next door on the internet to where you're currently at, people can say the most vile, insane stuff to each other possible. Like you said, now here's what for anybody that tuned in to hear about mixed martial arts and this is the topic we have arrived at. I will say this so that people don't get too doom and gloom about the people that are alive now and our age and younger. I think that people, if they were tougher in prior generations, I think a good amount of that is out of necessity. I think like that was forced upon a lot of people. Life wasn't as comfortable at a lot of points. The Depression sounded like it really sucked, and
Yeah.
2 world wars sounded like a giant bummer for a lot of people. So and they didn't have like technology to make things extremely easy, like not in the way that having a phone with like incredibly fast internet from anywhere that you're standing does. So I don't know if they didn't know how to like boil noodles in 1930. Like, I don't know what they did. I think they starved to death. I think there's probably statistics somewhere that show that. Now like things are easier. So I don't know how to fix people with that, but I don't think people have continuously just like been like shittier versions of the last ones. I think seems to be a product of their environment and everything. And there's a reason that like the people that are not solved in 2026, there's a reason that they're like that. And part of it is choices they made along the way, but part of it is the environment they were at. The other point I will say is it is a common talking point that people can say ridiculous stuff to professional athletes on Twitter, strangers, people who are very well educated. You can say anything you want to them. There is pretty much no repercussion if you don't threaten to kill them for the most part. But
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of repercussions for people that you don't get to see. And so it's not as satisfying because you don't get to see it play out. But I don't think anybody that's on the internet talking mad shit to athletes, and especially like to college athletes who are like 18 years old, and it's like, this guy sucks. It's like, he's 18, he's not even fully formed yet. He doesn't suck. Like he's one of the best basketball, but by percentage wise, he's in the top tier of basketball players that has ever existed if he's playing Division I basketball. He doesn't suck. So I think that the repercussions for those people plays out in a way that you just don't get to see. Because I'm sure their life probably isn't going great. They make poor decisions on the internet and lash out in a illogical way. I'm sure they do that in real life too. I'm sure they're not perfectly well put together people. And certainly if you feel the need to like release your energy or tension in that manner, you can't be that all happy with yourself in the first place. And this isn't me, trying to get people right now who do that. But I just think it's got to be objectively true because I don't do that and I'm quite happy. So that kind of it seems to correlate.
No, I again 100% agree with you, man. There's I heard this beautiful quote this morning. I hope I don't mess it up, but I think this guy was saying if you like have a cup of coffee and you're walking and somebody bumps into you and you spill your coffee, it's not that they bumped into you that's why you spilled your coffee. It's just like if you had water in your cup and then you spilled water, or if you had juice, you spilled that. It's like whatever is in you comes out of you. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing I took about that. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of people who are unhappy with people, oh, that person sucks. It's like, I think you're just unhappy and you're trying to take that out on somebody else. You know what I mean? And so like, man, that's where I think it is. Like I said, you know what I mean? Because again, people who are happy with themselves, they're not going to go out there, but oh, this person sucks. Like you said, he's 18, he's still growing and learning and making his craft even better. So why do that? I think you're just people like that just unhappy. And man, again, that's something the world needs is people need to find more happiness in the world. You know what I mean? It's not always easy. It's not always happy, but you got to find the best happiness you can. You know what I mean? Something about me is like, one of my biggest hobbies is I love to make music. I play guitar, I play piano. There's times where I am down or I'm depressed or whatever, and I'll just start playing keys, you know what I mean, and start playing my guitar. That gets me out of my funk, you know what I mean? So I think that's more people need other than just scrolling on their phone. They need to find a hobby that benefits them so get them out of their head.
And that reminds me of what my mom's tagline would be when we were kids. If it was like a Sunday and I like did not want to go to school the next day, like always did well in school, but I hated every day of it. And so like when we'd be like down for any reason, and this quote probably won't play well now. It'll seem like she was oversimplifying something. It'd be like, oh God, I'm just sad. And she would say, well then why don't you just do something that makes you happy? It's like, damn, when you put it that way, it actually does make a lot of things a lot more simple for some people. Certainly, it doesn't solve everybody's, problems with that, but it's like, look what you said, when you are, feeling a certain way and you start playing guitar, look at that, you feel better. So there's, people need more of that. People need to have, hobbies and things that they enjoy. I don't know what people do. I don't know if I see like that play out. It seems like a lot of people are playing pickleball nowadays. Seems like video games are very popular. I don't know past that, but I know that more people probably need to do more stuff, and whatever form it takes. Some like I don't have to do anything for long stretches of time if there's a lot of college basketball games on or a lot of fights on. I enjoy watching those and having it be relaxing and peaceful. So lots of things bring people happiness, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody and isn't a crime that harms people. Then you should do that. Yeah, unfortunately, some people's things are like illegal. So I don't know what to tell those people. That's a tough spot to be in.
Right? Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I agree with you 100%. As long as you find something that makes you happy, that's not hurting people, man, find it. You know what I mean? Like I said, I think too many people are just scrolling on their phones, trying to find anything to be upset about. There's too much beautiful stuff in the world to do and I wouldn't say have, but to create. You know what I mean? Like I have a friend. My niece, she loves to draw. She makes some amazing paintings. You know what I mean? And like she's about to draw out my next tattoo piece. You know what I mean? Like I think people need to dive into creative stuff. I think that's what happened. And we're talking about why people are so sad and mad or whatever. Took away a lot of the creativity. You know what I mean? Like it's not in schools as much. You know what I mean? You have to create it yourself. Find your own, find your own path and walk it. You know what I mean? And love it.
I couldn't even like my son is 2. He's currently in like a daycare kind of preschool style thing. Past when he gets to like first grade, I think like whatever school looks like, I couldn't even guess as to what like school looks like now. It might look exactly the same, and when you break down this dichotomy, every time I walk back in a school, especially one that I went to earlier in life, it's like, nah, I don't like this. I want to get out of here. This is weird.
No, I feel you. You know what's funny is I'm a high school dropout, so I totally understand. I could not stand school, and like I knew well before I dropped out, but like I knew school wasn't for me. I knew I was gonna go to college. I knew like again like I'm trying to see the right way to say this. School is for certain people. You know what I mean? Like if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer or some school, you have to go to school. You know what I mean? You need to go to college, all that stuff. But I just knew that wasn't for me. I ain't gonna lie to you. For my first time watching an MMA fight, I think the first fight I ever watched was BJ Penn versus Matt Hughes. And man, just seeing these guys beating each other up and again hearing them making good money off this, I knew that's what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? It's like it was my calling from seeing that. You know what I mean? So again, I think I was 15 when I first saw that fight. So yeah, like 2 years later, I dropped out of high school. You know what I mean? So again, I don't need a college degree to be an MMA fighter. But man, like yeah, man, I love this. There's nothing I would change about. Some people are, oh, I regret not going to school or dropping out or not going to college. I have friends and family. I was like, oh, Jared, go get your GED. And I think I've thought about it, you know what I mean? But I don't, everything that I'm doing, about fighting, wrestling. I'm even an actor, you know what I mean? I have a movie on Tubi called Heaven's Ghetto. I'm working in some plays right now. Man, man, my thing is all about is like I said, doing what makes you happy. And again, if people out there, if I can tell anybody anything, again, follow your passion. If you know school's not for you, again, console your parents. You know what I mean? If you're not an adult, you know what I mean. Don't listen to me. But hey, Jared, not a chance to drop out of school because I wasn't happy. I'm not saying that. You know what I mean? But again, follow your passions is the main thing I want to tell people. Follow your passion. If you know school's not going to get you there, screw it. Find something else. You know what I mean? Be happy.
And the first I had seen UFC fights kind of here and there as like a younger kid. Like I remember like on Spike, like when they'd show replays of like Tito and Ken Shamrock and stuff. I think everybody in some way knew who Chuck Liddell was, even if you didn't even know what MMA
Yes.
was. The Iceman had one of the
Yes.
most distinctive looks in the history of the sport, iconic. The first pay-per-view that I ever watched and that my brother ever watched was UFC 114, Rashad versus Rampage. And the reason we like dove in, we bought that, and I was like, I guess in middle school at the time, like sixth or seventh grade or something. And we saw like the promo that they played on like another channel. And it was like, if I don't see that later, I don't know how I'm going to live with myself. And like as that night goes on, and there wasn't even a lot of like spectacular parts of that card. Really, it was a very run the mill card, other than like the huge, beef that was in the main event. But even still, like after watching that first card, it was like, I am going to watch this for the rest of my life. I can guarantee you that right now.
No, I have to agree with you. I remember that fight. I remember when Rampage and Rashad Evans were coaches on the Ultimate Fighter. You know what I mean? That led up to that fight. Awesome year. I ain't gonna lie to you. The funniest thing about watching that season of the Ultimate Fighter is seeing Rampage getting mad that all his fighters were losing. So he breaks the door, like elbow and knee in the door, and breaks off the hinges. The funniest thing I've ever saw. One of the funniest things I ever saw. You know what I mean? Again, and Rampage has an awesome personality. You know what I mean? I even watch his stuff because he does like live streaming stuff like that about his life. He, like awesome dude, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. Again, even watching that little boxer dude get slapped by that big buff dude was one of the greatest things ever. That little dude was drunk, hitting on another man's wife in front of him. Like, dude, he's lucky all he did was slap him. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I'm crazy. You know what I mean? Again, it's luck. People like that are lucky I'm in the gym, man, because like I'll go off the walls, I'll go off the handles, or something stupid like that happen, man.
And that's talking about Rampage and his personality is this is what I think fans have struggled to adjust with in this period is after Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey, people figured out that even if you weren't good at it, it still made sense to play up like a big character. And so what you got were a lot of fighters that were famous that they got thrust into big fights consistently, even when it was kind of questionable. And the like personality part, you could tell it was just kind of like it was phony, like it was put on, it was obviously put on. It was so obviously put on for some people that it was hilarious to me that people would get upset by what they were saying. All right, so obviously I'm in part referring to Colby Covington here. Like Colby Covington, well known, very nice guy. And before he figured out the Vince McMahon thing, all those famous old interviews of him just being like, oh yeah, like it was a good fight, really, happy to be in there. And like the person that he is now, if you could have showed him what his life is like now, back in those early UFC days, you'd be like, Jesus, things really got crazy. It was a really roller coaster ride. And Colby would say, things like, I don't know, the things he says that like are, politically charged in nature and everything. And people get super upset. And it's like, dude, it's a bit. He's doing a bit.
Yeah.
This is a character that he invented, and it works every time. That's why you see Josh Hogan come in and do it to the 10,000th degree and do the whole Hulk Hogan thing because it works every. You will always ruffle people's feathers when you put on an American flag bandana and start being like, "This is the greatest country in the world. Everybody else can get out." Like that will always get you like bigger fights because the people that hate you the most are the ones that are getting you paid the most.
100%, 100%. For me, like I'm glad you brought up Kobe Covington, but my guy, who got big fights from the way he was talking to me was Chael Sonnen, man. You know what I mean? Again, good fighter, but like he was so great on the mic. You know what I mean? Like after he won, he get on the mic. Anderson Silva after he just lost him. Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck. Like dude was hilarious. You know what I mean? Again,
there was
yes.
I wish like there are very few periods of time in the sport where someone was that on fire with a microphone every single time they touched it. It was gold. From the first Anderson fight all the way up to like now he's kind of like he's a media personality, like that's kind of part of his thing. I think sometimes now he leans more into it, but when it was purely authentic, just him just bebopping and scatting into a microphone, whatever came into his head, everything he said was golden. The videos of him talking shit to Anderson Silva before the first fight are still some of the funniest things I have ever heard in my life. The Anderson Silva got his black belt from the Nogueira brothers, which is like a free toy in your toy in your Happy Meal, and like the stuff he was saying about like Vanderlei, the stuff he said about Vanderlei, like at those like Bellator press conferences when he said Vanderlei's joining us from a rest stop bathroom in Rio de Janeiro, and here you can talk to my shoe because at least my shoe will say something of personality. You'll ask Vanderlei a question, he'll go garble, garble, garble. Oh my God. It just so naturally talented on the mic, whether you hate him or not. And the other person, obviously, is Conor McGregor, who it was more rugged. It wasn't as long form, but there are very few people on this earth that could have thought of who the fuck is that guy? No, and the delivery, the thought, he thought it, he said it, and the sport was never the same.
Yeah, very true. Like I even say to this day, like when fighters like they want to get all dressed up in a suit, wear the sunglasses, they try to talk tough. I call it the Conor McGregor effect. You know what I mean? Again, from him saying, like said, who the fuck is that guy from way back in the day to now. Yeah, man. Again, Conor McGregor definitely changed the game in many ways, and like I said, being on the microphone is a huge one. You know what I mean? Man. Again, like I said, he's a great character, great talent, you know what I mean? And like I said, the things he would say, and then he would back it up in the ring. That was so cool, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, one of the greatest characters to ever play. I hope he fights again soon, you know what I mean? Hope we get to see him again. That'd be awesome.
That was a period where, like, Ronda Rousey is single-handedly was the reason at the time that women came into the UFC in the first place. We were so spoiled in the UFC for so long, in that period with the personalities we got. And so now, the fan base is kind of down right now. There's a lot of talk about the UFC lacking star power. And the thing is, like, there might not be any like authentic superstars right now, personality and the skill set to match, but they're rare. They're supposed to be rare. That's what makes them special. And every down period in sports, for people who are only fans of MMA and forget that the NBA has been through like almost 4 bankruptcies starting in the 40s and everything, these things do change. New things come along, and I'm confident that by in the next 5-10 years that the UFC and mixed martial arts will have like found its next true global superstar that can do that purely on the power of their ability and the things that make their personality special.
No, I agree with you. I'll tell you what, people, the biggest star I think they have in the UFC right now is Alex Poeta. You know what I mean? And like I think he's on what the is he on the White House card or whatever? He's the first person that I actually believe could be like a triple champion because he won the belt at middleweight, he won it at light heavyweight. Now he's fighting Cyril Gahn for the heavyweight championship. Like that's effing huge. I mean, nobody else in UFC has been a triple champion. I believe Alex Poeta has the abilities to be their first triple champion. And again, like he's again, to me, he's their biggest star. You know what I mean? So I can't wait to watch him go out there and fight. Man, I'll tell you what, man. I'll ask you what, man. I'm excited for this Netflix card they have coming out with Gina Carano versus Ronda Rousey. That's going to be a good fight. Like everybody, like a lot of people I talk to, like, oh, Gina Carano hasn't fought in years, decades. Ronda Rousey like had a fight like what 5 years ago, or something like that. I get it, but I can't wait. I can't wait to see that fight, and I can't wait to see Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry. That's going to be huge. I'm excited for that card, man. What do you think about that Netflix card, bro?
I mean, like you could do Mike Perry and Nate Diaz in 30 years, and it would still probably be a really entertaining thing. Um, I was really, I think like, so I'm trying to find the whole card right now, because the Francis cutting ties with PFL and then getting that fight on that card with Felipe Lenz was super interesting. I had seen somewhere that it was off, but I'm still seeing it as being scheduled for that card. So fighting Felipe Lenz for, I don't know, what I would have to assume, even if there's no belt, that's for the MVP MMA heavyweight title, I would imagine. What I love about this card is, you can obviously poke holes in having Mike Perry and Nate. I don't know. Mike Perry and Nate Diaz, like, plenty of like rep, but Mike Perry's been doing the whole bare knuckle and dirty boxing thing. I mean, very like, picked up a lot of business acumen over the years, but like those guys do what they do. And, we know what kind of fight it's going to end up being. But like, you can obviously poke some holes in like Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano with how long it's been since Gina's fought, with how long it's been since Ronda's fought. Like as much as like Gina Carano is an absolute pillar of women's MMA, and everybody who came after in some part has her to thank for that opportunity being there. It was never like a debate about like who was the greater all-time fighter, Ronda Rousey or Gina Carano. Like this isn't gonna like settle any long-term debates that people have had. But I had seen rumors too that they were trying to get they were trying to do like Cyborg versus like Clarissa Shields or something on that card too. And this is the amazing thing about MVP stuff and like with Jake Paul. Say what you will about that guy. I don't know a whole lot about him other than his weird, unique, route through combat sports. But I cannot say that too many other people have done more than him to give a platform and to showcase and put the spotlight on the greatest female fighters of our time. There were not
100%.
major boxing pay-per-view cards that were featuring four of the greatest female boxers in the world. It just they weren't doing that, and then he came on. They started doing that. So this is once again, if even if it's not a fight that has any relevance to you wonder why it's happening. Whatever. At the very least, like it's an opportunity to appreciate what Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano meant to women's MMA. It's going to be, like that's more of a celebration of their careers than what matters anything that actually happens in their fight.
True. I agree with that. You know what I mean? Like I said, this is I don't know why I had it in my head and I lost it. So my boy Warren hit me too hard this morning. But like I said, this is a good celebratory fight for both of them. Yeah, man. Again, both women, what you call it, led the way for women MMA around the world. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to see how this goes. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm picking Gina Carano. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna lie to you. I've always been in love with Gina Carano. When I first saw her fighting in Strike Force, yeah, man. Like every fight starts from the feet. You know what I mean? And I think Gina Carano's stand up is better than Ronda's. No offense, Ronda. If she grabs her and throws her down, she's going to arm bar. She's going to arm bar her, so we know how this is going to go. But I think Gina Carano's stand up's insanely good, and I can't wait to watch this fight. Yeah, man. And like you said, man, Jake Paul has done a lot for combat sports. You know what I mean? Putting a lot of women's MMA and boxing like in the forefront of the you know what I mean, out there. So yeah, man, I ain't gonna lie to you. Do I like Jake Paul? No, but what he's done, yeah, man, he's helped a lot of people. You know what I mean? And again, knocking out Tyron Woodley. Look, when he knocked out Tyron Woodley, I was so happy. I've never been a Tyron Woodley fan. You know what I mean? When he was champion in UFC, I was so annoyed because he kept being hurt and he was like holding the belt hostage because he couldn't fight. I was so annoyed. So when Jake Paul knocked him out, I was so effing happy. I watched him fall like I can't like 50 times, watching over and over again. So yeah, Jake Paul's a legit fighter. You know what I mean? Like boxer, I should say, because even when he was doing those YouTube videos, him and his brother, they were working boxing. So man, if I ever get the chance, I would love to fight Jake Paul. That'd be awesome. I'll do boxing if he needs me to, whatever. I would love to put him out, dude. That'd be so cool.
That's like the funny thing about like guys like Jake and Logan Paul is like I think we all have thought about like, oh my God, like if I just had like the resources and time to just dedicate to doing this thing that I love, but know that like I can't do professionally the way that my life is right now. Like there's not enough time. Like I can't get in that skill and everything. Jake Paul and Logan Paul, through like being a dick to their neighbors, got themselves in a position where it's like now I'm because you can tell like Jake Paul must like really have a passion for boxing. Like he wouldn't have been able to do all this and have the energy to do a lot of those things right and be in the like ridiculous shape that however he got there, be in the ridiculous shape that he's in. But like they are passionate about something and they got the opportunity to just dedicate all their time to doing that. And it's like, you know how many people, when they were active boxing champions, wanted to fight Floyd Mayweather? And Logan Paul got to do it like immediately, like after fighting a YouTuber. Like it's a crazy world we live in, but it's a whole separate sport, those kinds of fights, you know? They are intriguing to a lot of people. And I don't like the MMA fans either that like are too snobby to enjoy freak show kind of stuff, like weird stuff, celebrity fight. Like some of them, you know, depending on who the people are, you might have no interest in. But like, don't take yourself so seriously as an MMA fan to where you can't enjoy something that is just meant to be fun. This isn't for like a belt or anything. This isn't deciding who the next number one contender is. They're just putting on this fight for fun. And if it's not fun to you, fine. But like, it doesn't make you smarter than everybody else.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you, man. Yeah, like again, yeah, people just need to appreciate, like I said, a fun fight. You know what I mean? Again, that's how I see Gina Carano versus Ronda Rousey. Again, Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry. This is just a fun fight. Like I said, nobody's getting the world championship for this fight. It's just this is a fight again. People want to see. You know what I mean? Again, like I'm sorry. Main what I'm thinking about is Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry. They're going to brawl it out and it's going to be exciting, bro. I cannot wait for this. You know what I mean? Like I said, Mike Perry's been doing his thing out there and bare knuckle. People sleep on Mike Perry's ground game. You know, I've worked with Mike Perry out there and Fusion XL. He's a good purple belt. You know what I mean? Like he stopped there at purple belt, but again, he's really good on the ground. You know what I mean? So uh, again, I do believe like if it goes to ground, Mike Perry can work his way up and still knock out Nate Diaz. So again, this is going to be an awesome, fun fight to watch. Yeah, man, I can't wait for that, dude. It's going to be an awesome one.
And talk about an authentic superstar personality, Nate Diaz. And then, you know, guys like Mike Perry, who, you know, with the growth of bare knuckle, with the introduction of dirty boxing, with, you know, the good events that Karate Combat has put on, despite whatever, like, it might be going wrong with their business, like, practices and whatever. There's so many other amazing ways to produce entertainment through combat sports that we didn't think of for so many years. You know, when they come up with a new promotion, it's like it's called dirty boxing. I'm like, what's different? And they're like, this rule, this rule, this rule. I'm like, that's sweet. I'm so glad they're doing that. That's awesome. And you see people that didn't have success in MMA or, you know, had a rough end to their MMA career. Take Sam Alvey. You know, the way that that guy's UFC tenure ended, and then he goes on an absolute like bulldozing through Karate Combat. People have, you know,
Yeah.
people have done that with bare knuckle too. You know, it those some of those sports favors some people as they, you know, as they get up there in age. Bare knuckle seems to be something that can keep, you know, a lot of heavyweights, especially fighting into their 50s if they want to.
Right. Yeah. And man, yeah, like the bare knuckles is insane. I'm glad to be signed with them. I can't wait to actually step in there and fight, man. But yeah, like Mike Perry, um, man, he's a monster. You know what I mean? To go through that, he fights a lot, and again, like yo, to see him like be all tore up after a bare knuckle fight. You know what I mean? And then like in a few days he's fine. That's so crazy to me. But like you said, man, he could do that until he's 50 or 60. You know what I mean? And like I said, I'm so happy there are more what's the word ventures and more ways to go when it comes to combat sports. You know what I mean? It's not just MMA. It's not just UFC out there. Like I said, they have dirty boxing. We have bare knuckle. It's so cool that there's so many avenues. That's what I'm looking for. There's so many avenues now in combat sports. You can go anywhere, and I'm so excited, man.
And hell, with RAF, they're getting the public to be interested in freestyle wrestling matches. Like they're putting on big.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And you know, before we move on to what can be kind of like the final talking point to your thing about Gina Carano. One, she is the original of like fighter, but also like because of her personality, because of, you know, I mean, looks always help. Like if you're looking to be in entertainment, you're able. She was one of the, you know, first to be like in movies, to be, you know, famous in a way that people knew who a female fighter was. And it's hard to know who fighters are for people that don't follow the sport. There's a lot of individual people. So Gina Carano, a trailblazer in that front, especially, and her record 7-1 as a professional, beat Julie Kedzie, beat Tanya Evinger and Caitlin Young, all in Elite XC. I don't even think there was like a title belt at that point. They were just like putting who but Tanya Evinger, Julie Kedzie, those are trailblazers in their own right. Her only loss in her career, 2009 in Strikeforce to Chris Cyborg for their vacant featherweight title. And if your only loss in your career is to Chris Cyborg, things went pretty right because she is an absolute freak of nature. She could be a high level MMA and boxing champion at 60 years old, I think, if she wants to. I don't know if there's ever been a woman on this planet quite like Chris Cyborg.
Yeah, Chris Cyborg is amazing. Yeah, to see the stuff she has done and will do is amazing. I hope she does. I hope she gets that fight with Clarissa Shields. I think that'd be awesome because again, Chris Cyborg's boxing, her stand up is amazing. You know what I mean? Yeah, she's a monster, man. I'm excited to see her. I hope they put her on like a Netflix or some kind of card soon, man. Because again, I love watching her fight too, man. Yo, I would love to see a rematch between Chris Cyborg and Amanda Nunes. You know what I mean? That was a gnarly fight when it happened. Yeah, man. I think they should run it back. You know what I mean? I won and done kind of like. Don't be wrong. Amanda Nunes won in spectacular fashion where there didn't need to be a rematch, but I think a rematch would be good, especially around this time. Now it's been some years. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That'd be so cool.
Yeah, like I mean, the way that fight was going, I mean, like Cyborg got in plenty of big shots too. Sometimes, sometimes fights just shake out. If you ran it back 99 times, I don't know who wins. The most out of 100. And even with Cyborg being 40 years old, I don't know. She has held pretty much every major promotion's championship featherweight belt when there's ever been a major promotion outside of the UFC. PFL, Bellator, Strikeforce, Invicta, the UFC. She's one of the most important people like in women's combat sports easily, giving legitimacy and giving a star to so many of these promotions where it's like, look, I don't care if you're talking Cuyahoga County Combat 2. If their champion at the time is Chris Cyborg at featherweight, shit, that promotion might have one of the best fighters in the world at that weight. You might have a number one fighter on your right. That's how important her presence has been to so many of those companies.
Oh, 100%, brother. Like, dude, I ain't gonna lie to you. You blew my mind when you said she's 40. Like, it makes sense. You know what I mean? She's been in the game for a minute, but that surprised me. But yeah, man, she doesn't look it. She doesn't see it, man. The way she goes out there and fights, it's insane, bro. Yeah, like I said, she's a pillar when it comes to women's combat sports. Man, I'm surprised we haven't seen her in movies. You know what I mean? Don't be wrong. I still have Drina Carano's. I think her first movie was High Wire. You know what I mean? I think who was in that? The dude, I can't think of his name, Channing Tatum, I think was in there or something like that. But I still have that movie, you know what I mean? Like, Gina Carano's amazing. Chris Cyborg is awesome. I can't wait to see what fight she's gonna do next. But yeah, man, I think they need to put her in some movies or put her in something else when she's tired of fighting, you know?
Yeah, and so it's also tough to know like who in women's MMA right now could be, one of the next to be able to do something like that because everybody's got their own thing, like everybody's making videos, every day if you're a famous fighter with hundreds of thousands of followers or whatever, like every day you're putting out content. So it's just weird to distinguish those things. And, movies aren't as big anymore either. People are watching a hell of a lot more Instagram videos than they are movies in movie theaters. So it's a weird time for it, and this sport is going to make it through it and be better because of it. And so that is kind of what I want the final talking point to be here is like, it's an interesting time to be signing with PFL. They went through a lot of changes over the last year. Don Davis stepping down, Francis Ngannou stepping away, Jake Paul's contract expiring without really anything coming to fruition from that. So PFL is in an interesting spot where they're the number two most prominent MMA company in the world. There are a couple that are right behind it in terms of probably like fame, but they offer different things besides MMA. Like my favorite part of one is always like the Muay Thai and the kickboxing. Why those sports have not caught on in America, I will never understand. They're like some of the most exciting thing for people that complained about MMA and said that fight was boring. That was a heavyweight slop fest. That fight sucked. This whole card sucked. Dude, I promise you, every single Friday morning, one is putting on like 8 fights. It's like bop, 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 drop, and it's like Jesus Christ, this is the best thing I could be watching live on a Friday morning. But usually in MMA, all throughout the history of it, once it was healthy, there was a second promotion that was legitimately competitive in some way with the UFC. Pride, was the most competitive out of them. Strikeforce, WEC was able to, work its way in because they offered something that the UFC didn't have. And so did Strikeforce. They had, female fights before the UFC did, obviously. And then like you get into the stage where then it's Bellator that was really like the second best. And Bellator produced so many great fighters. I loved the heyday of Bellator, but fans never took it as seriously as any of those other promotions. They still don't. And now you've got Ryzen, you've got great fights happening, every other week in Octagon and KSW. There's a lot of great promotions out there. But it's an interesting spot for the sport where, fighter pay, fighter benefits, fighter quality of living is a constant topic of conversation. It'll come up when talking about any card, no matter what. Because probably on any card, some dude is losing, getting hurt, and making $10,000 from it, and he'll have two more of those opportunities that year. But it's a weird spot where the UFC signed the Paramount deal. They're kind of in a transition phase, looking for like what's going to take them into the future. And you don't have a clear top competitor necessarily, that people have a ton of confidence in to be around another 10 to 20 years from now. We've seen so many of these promotions come and go. So right now, like as in the stage of your career where you're at and where you're re-entering into PFL, that's a huge opportunity. It's immediately into the spotlight of people that are paying attention to the whole world of MMA. What do you assess as the sport's overall health right now in terms of how fighters are living, how you're attracting talent to want to come into this sport in the future, how the business is being run, and whether the dichotomies? How would what would be the prognosis that you would give to MMA right now as of like how it's doing and what you think would be some of the next steps to get it going more in the right direction?
Great question, brother. To get it, man, to make fights more exciting, like especially stateside, I think we need to allow like pride days, like stomps and kicks to the head, even to a downed opponent. You know what I mean? We need to bring those over here. You know what I mean? Because that, like you said, I'm talking PFL, but I watch one championship too. You know what I mean? And like watching like one championship, how like they have Muay Thai fights and MMA gloves. You know how awesome that is to see. You know what I mean? That is so cool. So yeah, man. Like here in the States, I think if we adopted.
Ryzen does Pride rules too. So yeah, Ryzen is actually like pound for pound my second favorite, and really the entertainment value, especially when you start watching it at midnight because it's in Japan. Like the Pride rules is something that like nobody else is doing at that top level, and that is like that takes you back like to 2003, and that's what so many MMA fans are craving, is like something that takes them back to the part where everything felt like it was electric and magical.
No, 100%. You know what I mean? Again, I think again, some pride rules, stomping our dude's face while he's down, knee him in the face while he's down. Like, again, it's gonna bring more excitement. You know what I mean? Because again, it turns that notch of danger up even more. You know what I'm saying? Because like, man, what's that fight with DJ Demetrius Johnson? Well, his first loss in one championship when he didn't get kneed on the ground. You know what I mean? Like he even said that will come up to, and he was looking forward to that when he did the rematch. But yeah, man, like I think to make it more exciting, again, we need to adopt some pride rules. And even like one championship does when Demetrius Johnson fought the Muay Thai guy, I'm gonna say his name wrong, Wu-Tang or something like that. When the first round was straight Muay Thai, then the second round was MMA. I think if we did stuff like that, that'd be so cool. That was awesome. You know what I mean? Because again, I was watching front row and center at my house with popcorn because is Demetrius Johnson gonna make it on the first round of straight Muay Thai? You know what I mean? And then he did, and he took him to the ground, did his jiu-jitsu and rear naked choked him. Like, you know how awesome that was to see. So I think, like I said, that'd be my way to answer that is to if we brought some pride rules back and had rounds like that where it's like, oh, it's straight MMA. I'm sorry, straight boxing this first round. Second round, oh, now it's like boxing with kicks. You know what I mean? And then last round's MMA. Like bringing that kind of stuff to MMA, I think will make it so much more exciting. Because you know they say styles make fights, and imagine like a grappler versus a striker, but the first round is straight striking, you know what I mean? And then like the striker or the grappler has to wait a round or two until they can actually do the grappling. You know what I mean? To me, that'd make it more exciting because again, like I said, how I was with DJ versus, again, if I'm saying his name right, if his name right, Rutong, whatever, that was a great fight. To see Demetrius Johnson survive the first round straight Muay Thai and then be able to do MMA was so cool to me. So yeah, that'd be my answer to that, man, is to bring pride rules back and again mixing up the rounds. That'd be so cool. Or even, man, giving the fans the option. You know what I mean? Like, what if they allowed fans like this big White House card they have coming up? What if they let the fans pick the rounds? You know what I mean? Like, oh, first round, the fans voted that it's straight stand up. You know what I mean? And then they voted the second round is all MMA, and the last round is only striking. Like, that'd be so cool. Again, get the fans more involved. I think that's the way to go, brother.
And that's the thing is what made this sport great as it was coming into prominence is like there are a lot of aspects of this that you can kind of make up as you go along. If you want now, you still want to maintain the fact that like what makes it compelling always is that it's a competitive sport. We want to find out who wins and we want to find out who the champion is. And I think like the BMF thing was like an attempt to kind of like go outside the box with greater presentation value. Really, like it would have been a great idea as like a one-off thing or a much rarer thing. I think like to headline events, they started feeling the pressure to like have a BMF champion. Now he's defending the BMF belt, and it's like, you guys don't have to do this forever, man. Like this is gonna be hard. Like these guys are just lightweights. This is just like who is like currently the most exciting lightweight who isn't the champion right now. Like this is strange. But I'll never fault people for thinking outside the box and giving ideas tries. One thing I'll say about, and this I say it a lot on here. And like you're a great example of why this would be a good thing is you don't have to do it like boxing where there's a weight class every 1.5 pounds, but there should probably be a couple more weight classes. You don't want fights to get canceled ever. That means less entertainment. It means that you've got fighters in worse positions. You're seeing the fans end up disappointed. Fans end up seeing videos of people passing out on stage. That's not a good look. And there's a lot of people that I think were robbed of what their peak could have been in this sport because there was never the right weight for them. You fought at a bunch of different catch weights. You fought, a good mixture between middleweight and welterweight. I feel like there probably could have been a weight class that exists that would have been a sweet spot for you consistently, so that like you didn't have to go back and forth if you didn't want to. And I want to see more atom weight at the higher levels. Michelle Waterson at one point was very arguably the #1 atom weight in the world. She was never a UFC champion. She could have been at atom weight. Cruiserweight or bridgeweight makes way too much sense. With the way the heavyweight division is right now, and you got guys going up there at 220, and they're getting into the top 15, and they're losing. It's like some of these guys have to retire, so you got to have like 8 heavyweights retire right now for these rankings not to be super weird. But something in the range of in between welterweight and middleweight, cruiserweight makes a ton of sense. And I'd like to see, steadily as more talent grows, just more women's weight classes because there will be enough talent to sustain it. I quite enjoyed the PFL Women's Lightweight Grand Prix when they did it. And even though most of it was Kayla Harrison and Larissa Pacheco tearing holes through people, I still enjoyed it. I enjoy those weight classes where it's like, this is a select pocket of people. Like, some of these people may have fought each other before in other promotions. When I had Joy Pendel on here, it's like she fought for the Uriah Faber A1 featherweight title against the same person she had fought against for another title in her last fight like 8 months ago. So if you have those weight classes, they might not be the stars of the show at first, but things come along. So I would like to see more weight classes. I think it would put less pressure on the UFC to do goofy stuff to try to have, the title fights that they want as headliners. You can put, more stars like in a position of prominence if they're at the right weight class. And now this guy doesn't have to be on the shelf waiting for a title shot for a year. Now he's the defending, the cruiserweight champion. And, you can get more out of it. It just seems like, what the hell do I know? I'm not running their business. I don't know how hard it is to implement these changes as you go along. I gave up learning like how Microsoft Excel works. So I'm not gonna I can't tell anybody else how to do their job on that, but like these are just suggestions.
Yeah, but you're like say you're a fan, you know what I mean? And again, that's what the big organization should be listening to you and everybody else. You know what I mean? Hear what the fans need to say because again, y'all the ones who are helping keep them keep them working and going. You know what I mean? But I tell you what, there's one thing. Like I said, I agree with you. There should be more weight classes, but I think like each weight class needs like I want to say a BMF champion or whatever, but like a bad motherfucker champion. But like that should be the number one contender for each weight class because again now there's like two belts. You know what I mean? There's the real champion, the undisputed champion, and then there's the number one contender champion. You know what I mean? I think that'd be cooler because again, as we saw, champions can't always fight; they get hurt or whatever, and then they do like what's that? I can't think of the word where you're not the champion, you're the in between champion.
Interim.
I can't think of the word. Thank you. Yes, interim champion. I think. Yeah. So I think that should be in every weight class. You know what I mean? Like, because again, every champion can't fight. They get injuries happen. You know what I mean? Weight class stuff like that. So I think there should always be like an interim champion, but give it a better name than interim. You know what I mean? But yeah, there should be like the more contenders, champions fighting. Go ahead. I see.
Yeah, yeah, and like interim, like at a certain point, like the way certain events have played out over the last few years with a few particular fighters and a few particular divisions. Interim just kind of sounds like not real champion anymore. It's
Exactly.
a thing that's taken too seriously for the most part. And like Canada, some of their regional promotions do stuff like this. They have some like different weight classes. They'll do like a fight that's like the champion, like the Legends Championship clash of like two like 36-year-old Canadian fighters who have like 40 fights, like all that they all happened in Ottawa. Stuff like that is fun. This sport is allowed to be fun. We're allowed to, we're allowed to bend and mold things as it goes along for the sake of fun because at the end of the day, people get paid to fight because people are entertained by it. And at the same time, it's a thin line you toe because with boxing, there's so many belts and titles you couldn't possibly keep track of all of them. And so what ends up happening is a lot of really good boxers get lost in the giant mix, and you have a handful that are really respected by fans, and you got like one or two superstars. But it is very hard for me to know what it means. Even like I try to follow boxing as much as I possibly can. And when I see that somebody is the WBC Intercontinental Silver Heavyweight Champion, I don't know what the hell that means. He seems to be better than a good number of people, but there seems to be a world gold champion, and they have those of every single commission. So you don't want to get to that point where it gets confusing and hard to follow and it gets hard for people to stand out, but you certainly have a lot of freedom in this sport to do what seems like it would be fun and do what it seems like the fans would want to see, because if you do what the fans want to see, not many people will be unhappy.
Exactly. Like, exactly that again. That's what one thing that definitely I believe needs to change is UFC, whatever, all the big promotions just need to let the fans talk and to hear their suggestions. Because again, it's all about them. They are the consumers. They're the ones buying and checking in to see all the fights like that. We need to hear more from them and what they want to see out there, man. But yeah, like I said, in boxing, there's way too many champions. Yeah, like I said, if it wasn't for people like Canelo and Terrence Crawford, collecting all the belts, you know what I mean? So there's only one real champion. Yeah, I wouldn't know that they had like what 4 or 5 different belts in one weight class. That's so weird to me. Yeah, like I said, we need one real champion. Again, if you want to give the number one contender a championship, I get that. You know what I mean? Like I said, I like how, like I said, there's the world champion's the gold or whatever, then the, I guess, secondary champion the silver, whatever. If they want to do that, that'd be cool. You know what I mean? Like the world champion and then the silver champion, that'd be really cool to see. That'd be wild. Because who doesn't want gold?
And they used to remember when they used to do real number one contender fights. Like the person
Yes.
who wins this fight will fight for the title next. That had an air of gravitas about it too. There was no belt involved,
Yes.
but it was called a number one contender fight. That meant something. And
Yes.
like in this period where there's no more pay-per-views for the UFC, so hilariously, they listen to the fans that like dude, like it is hard for a lot of people to justify paying $70 every other week. And as then you really have to put out a great product for people to not be sour about it. But now that so many people have a Paramount Plus anyway, it kind of takes away a little bit of the incentive for the UFC to listen to the fans moving forward. It's and to your point about boxing, that is one thing that I did mention with MMA is like part of the mystique of John Jones, Anderson Silva, GSP, Mighty Mouse was seeing them dominate the same weight class for a decade plus and being in awe of that person. Like after a certain period of time, just being like, I don't know what anybody could do to beat this guy. He like watching GSP and Anderson Silva, where every time they were defending their title, and people were just grasping at straws to come up with a reason why maybe their opponent had a chance. Yushin Okami is very strong. He does well in the clinch. Like, get the hell out of here with Yushin Okami, dude. He's not going to win this. Anderson Silva's going to do a move that no one's ever seen before. He's going to front kick Belfort in the face. Or what? So part of the mystique was seeing those people defend those belts for some. As much as I might not be a fan of like John Jones the person or the personality, John Jones the fighter is the most incredible thing I have ever seen in mixed martial arts. I will never not say that. Him and GSP are the closest things MMA has ever had to true prodigies, where like anything they pick up, they're immediately better at it than people that have been doing it at a high level for their entire lives. So I want to see more defense of belts for long periods of time. Everybody wanted to chase multiple belts. Conor McGregor in DC and everybody made that cool. But it takes mystique away from those things. Like, all right, so what's the lightweight belt mean now? You just kicked this guy's ass and then you dropped it. Now these people are going to fight for this belt again. Like, how am I supposed to take that fight as seriously? So I would love to see people stay as the champion in their weight class for longer periods of time. That's something that I think people didn't even realize that we're missing.
No, 100%. I agree with you. Yes. Yeah. Like I said, they need to before people can just jump up a weight class, they need to at least, like I said, defend the championship and that weight class. Man, I think at minimum 5 times. You know what I mean? You defend your belt, show that you are the king of that weight class before you jump up. But yeah, like I said, that I do miss that, man. And I want to ask you a question real quick, brother, because you said some of the top tier names to me. But who do you think is the greatest mixed martial artist and why? Why? Like, I got to tell you, for me, it's GSP. The way GSP dominated the welterweight division for as long as he did was amazing. You know what I mean? And like, everyone's like, oh, he's just going to wrestle. It's like, yeah, can y'all stop it? You know what I mean? Nobody can stop him. You know what I mean? So to me, GSP, like, and he could strike. He was good at striking and everything. You know what I mean? Submitted great fighters. You know what I mean? So again, to me, GSP is the GOAT of mixed martial arts right now. I got to ask, who do you think's the best, though?
So, there is a line between who had the best career and who I think the greatest fighter of all time is. And even still, by the end of his career, who knows? But it might not matter for John Jones. He still might, end up having the most impressive career. As someone who is in awe of that guy as a fighter, it's a shame that we didn't get to see him in a lot of fights that we were looking forward to. Yeah, and
True.
yeah, he's got his demons and everything, but like as far as like I think that the greatest MMA fighter of all time comes down to a select group of GSP, Anderson Silva, I don't care how many times he lost at the end of his career. That is, more so something that biases people against him. He fought a lot of times and fought till he was older. And that happens when, you get older and you're still fighting the best fighters in the world. So, Anderson Silva, John Jones, GSP, and, like Mighty Mouse and guys like Fedor are probably like on the outside of that, like looking in, because it's hard to compare what flyweight was like at the time to what it is now, where flyweight is currently my favorite division in the UFC. And Fedor, that was a different time. Some of his greatest wins were against like great legendary fighters, but it was like, kind of open weight stuff that you wouldn't necessarily see anymore. He, lost some of that mystique when, he suffered those upset losses in Strikeforce. I think that the most impressed I've ever been with a fighter consistently has been GSP, where like that guy suffered losses and he avenged them in spectacular fashion and evolved to a different level because of it. GSP did unspeakable damage to Josh Koscheck's eye with a jab over and over and over again. His wrestling, his jiu-jitsu is it's prodigy like. And then John Jones is like, I'll probably get there eventually, and thinking that like he passed it. When GSP came back and beat Michael Bisping at middleweight, like it was nothing.
Yes.
And imagine for how many years we wanted GSP versus Anderson Silva, and they're like, yeah, impossible, it can't happen. And now we're seeing those fights all the time. But so that was amazing that GSP did that. Before John Jones went to heavyweight, I can make less of an argument. And when John Jones was fighting Cyril Gahn in his heavyweight debut, I was like, man, like John Jones is the favorite here, and that seems a little wild to me. Cyril Gahn is an actual heavyweight. He's an amazing striker at heavyweight. It's been however much time since John Jones has fought. Blah 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 blah. Then I see John Jones walk out for the fight, just walk out for it, and I was like, holy shit, that guy is gigantic. He looks every bit weight. And the way he handled that fight, like the images of him just walking away from a slumped Cyril Gahn, from dropping a limp noodle Lyoto Machida, like, and you could argue that maybe he lost to Alexander Gustafsson. You can definitely argue that, he could have lost to Dominic Reyes, but holy shit, every time I think I have seen the most amazing thing from that guy, even with years in between of the, frustrating behavior, the slip ups from him, whatever kind of challenging personality that guy is and what makes him who he is. I can never say that I am not in incredible awe of that. If nothing else, he is one of two of the greatest fighters to ever walk the planet. And I don't think that that's an insult to anybody to say like not definitively number one, because like it's him or GSP to me.
I feel that. I again, I can totally understand. I can totally understand that argument. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm a little, how to explain it? I wouldn't say biased, but I guess you could call it biased. But I just can't give John Jones the GOAT status because he popped for steroids more than once. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I know Anderson Silva popped steroids, but that was when after he broke his shin and he was rehabbing it to come back. You know what I mean? But for me, like I've never taken steroids. Anytime I've gotten in trouble, law or anything, they always try to bring it up. Oh, you take steroids? So no, you know what I mean? I'm not a steroid guy. I don't. Again, to me, that's cheating. You know what I mean? But like I don't like that. I can't co-sign someone being the greatest and you're doing stuff like that when it's illegal and it's wrong. You know what I mean? But like I said, who was it? One of the Diaz brothers saying, "Oh, everybody's on steroids or whatever." I don't like that. You know what I mean? Again, but that's something to know about GSP. He's never been popping steroids for his amazing physique and how he fought and dominated for as long as he did. Never popped steroids, and so that's why for me, yeah, GSP be number one. I put Anderson Silva at number two. But damn, for me, I ain't gonna lie to you, I can't give John Jones a GOAT status because again, to me, you're cheating. And like, I don't know, like I grew up I would never say I grew up in the hood and nothing like that, but I have fought coke heads. Do you know how hard it is to fight a coke head? Do you like, you know what I mean? Do you like when they're messed up? You know how hard it is to fight them, and then you ask you to knock them out. And so like watching some of the shots John Jones took, and I'm like, yeah, of course he's fine. He's fucking on coke. So that like I say, yeah, his personal life. So like I'm weird because like y'all I don't know, this has been years since this happened, but you remember when like uh Chris Brown beat up Rihanna or whatever? A lot of people that I knew like, oh, I can't listen to Chris Brown because he's a woman beater. It's like I get that, but you have to separate the artist from who the man is. You know what I mean? But like to me again, doing steroids and coke and all that stuff, it mixes both the man. It shows who you are, and again, it helps you as a fighter. And for me, I can't give John Jones a GOAT status because of that, man. Like to me, again, you're cheating. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion. I'm sure I'm gonna get some hate for that. People are gonna say what they want, but that's just me.
No, and it's like it's harder for me to put into my evaluations because I have never been a competitive fighter in the UFC. So those feelings that you have about I just like I can't manufacture inside of me because I've never competed on that stage and felt like being like you were robbed of something like because the other guy cheated or thinking that someone like got to their position because they cheated. It's like so you might have a bias against it, but like I don't have the thing in me that I probably should have, which is like I I know that steroids and using performance enhancing drugs when other people aren't. I know that that's cheating, but the part of my brain that is supposed to bother might not have ever developed. Like I know that it's wrong, but it doesn't bother me like to the core. Like it's just like like some people, if they see someone litter, like it makes them cringe, and some people, I guess it's kind of like that. That's as good as I can
Yeah,
say. Now, if I was ever,
it was good.
if I was ever at the Olympic trials, if I was ever fighting for a UFC title, or if I was ever a minor league baseball player who couldn't make his way up to the majors, I'd probably have a very different viewpoint on that. I don't, there's been so many rumors over the decades about people that did pop, didn't, whether they were on steroids based on where they were fighting or weren't they. So part at least of what truth has been lost in the history of MMA is what makes it a little bit easier for me to say like it doesn't stop me from saying that I am most amazed by John Jones when seeing him fight because I truly don't know like what people have been up to. I don't. Other fighters, who train with these people, maybe they know, maybe they don't. I think a lot of people are pretty good at hiding stuff too if they want to. John Jones doesn't make an effort to. And while it is hard to fight a cokehead, it is also very easy to fight somebody going, yeah, depending on, he's a psychopath and a very special, like a Michael Jordan kind of psychopath. Like the way that like it destroys so many things in his life, but it also makes him as dangerous as he is. I also know that like it's very hard to fight when you are like strung out and coming off of drugs. So like there's reverse sides to that too. I could see where having a bad drug problem would make you a worse fighter over time. But I'll tell you that John Jones guy handled it pretty well. They seem to work really well for
Yeah.
him. Uh, how can you ever tell that guy not to do drugs? It's only ever worked out for him.
I'm sorry, that is funny, man.
It's
I
only
feel you. Oh
only
my
ever
god.
been positive results. There's never really been outside of the effect that it's probably had on his family, and all of the things with his brothers. They have real things going on. But it's never really been a negative consequence. He didn't fight for a few years sometimes. He has a lot of people that hate him, and that's why every fight that he is in is must see TV because he is, you know,
100%.
one of the most amazing and one of the most hated fighters of all time. And if you would have told me when he was coming up and he beat Ryan Bader and he beat Phil Davis, and it was like, oh my God, is he going to get the next title shot against Can he beat Shogun? If you would have told me this many years later what the legacy of John Jones would be, you wouldn't believe it. He was a rising star. And all the other prospects at light heavyweight, Bader and Phil Davis, they thought, well, it's kind of a race between those three to see who can like get. Nope, no, it wasn't. I love Phil Davis. He's one of my favorite fighters ever, but he was an unstoppable force on his way up. Watching, what he just kind of did for fun, just freestyling when he fought like Vladimir Matyushenko and just like messing around, did that like crazy suplex, like it's been a very interesting story. And if you can believe it, that story isn't over yet. I don't know what the next part of that John Jones story is, but I'd be shocked if it was over. So, folks, this has been an amazing conversation that we've made last close to 2 hours, which is awesome. And thank you so much for listening. Follow me on Twitter at RotoBrady. Follow the podcast at Tap That MMA Podcast on YouTube and Spotify. Also available on Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. Follow me on Instagram at RotoBrady MMA. Check out all the recent Interlude episodes that we put out. Check out King Arthur Capital Group. See if they can help you fund your fight camp or make your life make a little bit more sense. And with me today has been Jared NiteTrain Gooden, a one-of-a-kind fighter in the sport. He will be fighting in PFL Brussels coming up here in May 23rd. Jared, thank you so much for being here today. This has been a blast. And if there's anything else that you want to say or anybody you want to shout out, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. This has been a blessing to be here. I definitely want to shout out my gym. So I want to shout out Torch MMA. In Canton, Georgia. I want to shout out Team Octopus in Sandy Springs, Georgia. I want to shout out my jiu-jitsu gym, Temporal Jiu-Jitsu in Lithonia, Georgia. I have a chiropractor, 100% chiropractic. I go to Buford, man, but check them out, man. They're great sponsors. They're great gyms. Check them out if you want to be better. Check these guys out. And again, brother, this has been a blessing to be here. It's been awesome talking with you, man. Great topics, man. You're awesome, bro. I'm looking forward to doing this again with you.
Folks, thank you so much for listening today. Listen to every second of this conversation that we've had. It gets better and better. Have yourselves a great week. I hope that you enjoyed UFC Seattle because it'll already happen by the time this comes out. And peace.